It's always good to talk to you, man. Congratulations on the new song.
Thank
Give
you.
us a little bit of a background on it. There's clear imagery happening in the video. I think we kind of got the vibe of it, but I'm sure that's kind of what you were going for with the messaging, right?
Yeah, well, when I think especially when it's parts written by somebody else in the band, meaning that somebody else comes up with the riffs, in this case Tim. My process as a singer and doing the lyrics and all that, uh, it's pretty psychedelic when it's at its best. Meaning that the music that makes me semi hallucinate, that it really starts to draw images in front of me, that it takes you to a place. Um, those are usually the songs that end up getting vocals, and that seems to be some what we call it, instinctive quality control or intuitive quality control that happens. Basically the stuff that inspires you to create because you already see something in front of you. And this song, I saw water pretty early on. And starting as to grow with the riffs, there were sounds and mumbles and stuff that already set the tone for what this song was. That it's this, yeah, I think the he who knows the boat. The first thing that was of that was the he. So it's, somewhere between some sea shanty, rowing rhythm, but also having a weird throat singing. It was all these kind of things, but then it solidifies to what it becomes, right? But a spiritual journey over water. That that part wrote itself, and then it's all about fleshing that out. And of course, in this point in my life, to the extent where I feel spiritual, the goat has become quite an important symbol for that spirituality.
What's it take, or is it just second nature for you to be in a place where creativity is just all over the place, and you can turn things into a song, and you just maybe it's a feeling that you're having or something that you're going through. How exactly do you take that and then like this? Here's how I want to make this into music, into a song, into lyrics.
I think there are a couple of things that happens in parallel with each other. There is having your antennas out, and you tap into your own stream of consciousness as it presents to you, which is very and what it really means practically can be as simple as walking about town, seeing something that makes you think a thought and realize, hey, that rhymed, and write it down. Or feeling the feeling enough to write it down, gathering ideas, basically. Whatever you record on your phone from time to time, that often can end up feeling very useless, but you also start to build up a bank with, gathering the scattered thoughts. And you combine that with being, in our case, very trying to have some method to the madness, meaning like, yeah, today at 9 I flipped the light switch in the rehearse room, bring in a cup of joe and get to work. Could almost wear a tie, and really sit and hammer things out in a structured manner so that, all those streams of consciousness and the mambo jambo ends up being something that people can enjoy, that a finished product, if you will, a finished piece of work. And those things kind of travel alongside with each other, and from time to time they happen all at once. Again, with Captian Goat saying he who. That's a very those worlds meeting. But sometimes you have also built up a little bank of ideas, especially lyrics, that then you have that song where that blank space in it, where the singing is supposed to go, and I start flipping through those notes, and suddenly there's something there that seemed to have been meant for it all along.
That makes sense. Johannes from Avatar joins us, and we're talking about Captain Goat as well as the new tour, which is coming here to town on November the 12th. You can grab your tickets at xrock.com. When it comes to writing songs, Johannes, one of the things that I love about Avatar, obviously I love the sonic sounds of Avatar. I always have. But you guys over the last couple of years have done a really great amount of work in the visual aspect, specifically with the visual storytelling, with the videos. Do you think about that when you're songwriting? Like, here's how I want this to sound, but also this is how I want this to look as we were putting it together, or does that come later?
Yeah, it's not like we plan out the music videos at the time of writing the song. But this is what I told you about, that the psychedelic part of really starting to visualize in your head the song. That informs the ideas we then get for a music video. But that being said, sometimes the idea you visualize in your head, what the song is to you on the inside of your skull, can be very, 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 very expensive to do in real life. So there's also, again, that constructive factor of listening to the song, talking about it a lot about it with you one, bouncing the ideas back and forth from there. And finding a balance between, representing the song, being Avatar while doing it, but also find those ideas in and of itself in the medium of, making a music video that we get excited about in and out of itself. So again, there is a lot of moving pieces to what we do. I think that's the whole Avatar trip, right? Multiple songwriters, a very collective effort, share the burden, share the joy, very much being a band the way we turn out that most bands aren't like this, but we are trying to be the kind of band we thought all bands were when we grew up. And with that comes then that ideas come from everywhere. There's not this singular vision. It's Avatar exists in the space between its members, between us and the people we work with. What's take place between us, rather than me going into a room saying, I'm Avatar, or anyone else in the band. It's really that combination of strong individual vision meeting each other, marrying each other, and having then that collective effort. And that feeds into everything. So even if one person has an idea, this would be cool for a video, while laying down their part of a song, that just ends up being one piece of the puzzle.
I think probably us as fans, sometimes we take for granted that, and just assume that, bands who are up on live stage are performing, love performing. And I don't know if that's always the case, but after getting to know you gentlemen over the years, knowing how much you love to perform and watching Captain Goat, you can clearly see that despite how hard it is to do a music video, people don't know that part either, that you guys look like you're genuinely having fun, and that you enjoy the performance part, that you love getting into the character and doing that thing. I mean, it's just apparent, and I think it really comes over visually as well as through your live shows.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I guess that's a secret sauce. In our case, it should go without saying, but I don't know that it always does. But what we get away with doing, it's a really good time if it's done right. But it all comes down to knowing where to put the most effort into making it feel like that. Meaning that our most important business choice and priority is always kind of taking care of each other, and good business choices be damned. We don't really go for short-term gains if it's something that risks rocking the boat long-term, and we take care of each other. And since we do that, most of the time we have our ups and downs. We're people, but that also means that then there's room to enjoy this, and there's no BS that rarely BS you bring up with you on stage that gets in the way of enjoying it. So it's all about the interpersonal stuff, because I believe a lot of bands, when what I was hinting at is maybe not so much that people don't enjoy performing, as maybe they don't enjoy each other the way they should. And that's where I think you can, shoot yourself in the foot in terms of just living this kind of life. Because suddenly, we love talking about, bands love talking about the great sacrifice it takes to do this, but boo-hoo, because we get to do this, right? And the greatest sacrifice is usually by the people around us rather than us. But I think when artists gets fixated on how much they're sacrificing, is because they clearly are unable to enjoy the good stuff the way I take great pride in that we are able to.
For sure, for sure. We also have an upcoming tour. You have released a new song, which means I'm sure at this point, album number 10 for Avatar is in the works. It may be complete. I know in this world of information,
I have a release date. I just can't tell you the release date.
Okay.
But I see it. It's a big old beautiful release date. Some would say it's the best release date. And it's going to be so released on that date. When you hear the date, you're going to say that's a good date for a release. Can't wait for the release on that date.
Right.
And I know it. It's a privilege to know, a privilege I'm not willing to share just yet.
Any other details from album number 10 that you can tell us in little bits and pieces to tease us a little bit?
What can I share? This is the part where I hope management is listening and going, don't. But I think the important part, I guess, for me is that you mentioned that it's our 10th album. That's a high number. And I don't think many bands on purpose would phone it in at this point. But I think certainly there's a risk of taking parts of it, again, taking things for granted. And maybe just looking at the trip that we had to make this album and to have it make sense making an album, that it can be a bit harder and therefore more important than ever the further you go to find a reason why is this important to us right now, why does this one matter to us? Why does it matter to us to get to do another one? What do we want to put on there that we are really passionate about right here, right now? And I think we nailed that. And it's I'm trying to think about the different songs and different directions it goes. There are all these things that we haven't done before. I get to pretend that I'm Elton John, meaning that I've been playing a bit of piano with a band lately. But now I get to do it while drums are being played, so I feel I'm in the band. Finally. After all these years, I'm in a band. So that's something, and work with outside musicians for stuff, orchestral things and all that, taking that to the next level. I don't think this is a prog album, really, but some of our most clearly progressive parts ever are probably on this album. Really having found a new voices. It was an ethos I had for a while, a mantra almost going around, was to, when writing, to make the choices and also about what to write and stuff, is just trust what's beautiful. Because I believe the subconscious speaks whatever it needs to actually say, that might not make sense at the given moment when you're doing it. But if you find it beautiful as you create it, once upon revisiting, it's very likely to mean exactly what it needed to mean. So it's there's a dream factor to this album, letting the subconscious speak through imagery that I picked up in dreams. There's a surrealness to it, therefore. And all these groovy, lofty words being said on something that is between 40 and 45 minutes of kick-ass heavy metal, and hopefully always with ambition forever and ever and ever when it's Avatar, that it's songs that you haven't heard yet.
That's awesome. And, Johannes, next to us announcing you're coming back to the Treasure Valley November 12th at the Revolution Concert House and Event Center, I was beyond excited when I saw that you guys were going to have the opportunity to open for Metallica in Europe.
Thank you.
What was that feeling like when that all came together for you guys?
That was a good day. It's I'm making sure to remember to enjoy looking forward to it, to allow myself to be a fanboy, put on the For Whom the Bell Tolls, and feeling like, yeah, we're going. And to do that, because in that moment comes that huge challenge of trying to There's no trying even. Dude or not, there is no try, Yoda said. I'm not allowed to try. Must succeed in, for whatever short time we have on that stage that day, to claim complete ownership and make sure to be deserving of being there. And in that, it almost becomes sports in a way, you know? So I'm making sure to fill up my cup of enjoyment starting now, which means I'm so happy about this is what that means. That is funny, like because at the time we found out, you know, we recorded this album, mixing, mastering, working on the visuals, recording music videos, everything. So we found out during a group call on which John was late to that group call, so I left it before he joined it, which means we heard it, you know, with a slight delay from each other. And the funny thing with that is that, so I checked in with him later in the evening, because here's the thing, there's no Avatar without Metallica. There are many bands that are huge influences and everything, but John went skiing when he was 12 and he broke a leg. And he was bedridden, and his mom felt bad for him. She bought a couple of CDs, including 2 Metallica CDs. John researched Lars Ulrich's kit, and that's why John to this day plays Tama. Avatar are many things. One thing that it will always and forever be, it's a band started by John Alfredson meeting Jonas Jarlsby. And John wouldn't have set out to do that at that time without Metallica. So there could be, depending on we could remove and add other influences to Avatar and how we grew up, and we would, you know, they would shape us differently, but there would have been nothing to shape if John didn't say, I want to do that, right? So I wanted to check on him because he wasn't on the group call with me, and I call him, are you really, really, really excited? And he goes, yeah, right, yeah, should be, shouldn't I? Shit, yes. and then he was. You know, but we sometimes get lost in this along the way somehow. Well, you know, and now it's sunk in with all of us. Really, no Metallica, no Avatar.
That's a great story.
Cool.
And I feel like I know the answer to this question already, because we have a pretty good history with you guys. It's hard to believe that 12 years ago you were coming off of Black Waltz and you came into this town and you played, and we all became huge Avatar fans and have been on the journey with you guys ever since. And we appreciate you for coming back and keeping us a part of that journey. But I was so happy and proud from the outside looking in that off of Dance Devil Dance, you guys got your first #1 here in the United States of America with The Dirt I'm Buried In. With that can sometimes come some weird pressure attached to it. Did you feel any as you were preparing this record for, like, wow, now that we've found success, we may have to duplicate that or anything like that?
Well, we always found success in teeny tiny steps. That's the most obvious way where we are a metal band and not, you know, other genres that get to come out in the world in other ways. We just scratch and claw our way up each rung of the ladder slowly. So yes, that's the biggest thing we have done up until this point, and where that song took us. But every other thing in the past also had the biggest thing at the time. That's been pretty cool for us. We have, at this point, knock on wood, we have only grown. Albeit slowly, but we've only grown. So that feeling we have had over and over again, relative to where we were at. And each and every time we feel it's important to completely disregard and disrespect whatever success you had in the past, and stay true to where you're at in that particular moment. You know, if there are artists that try to be 20 years old their whole career, and usually they stop being good. If you want to be good 10 albums in, you have to be brutally honest with yourself about where you are at and how you view the world and what art gets you going at the time of creating. So each and every song becomes lightning in a bottle, and you can't catch that twice. And having that ethos also means at some point you have to kind of actively make peace with, everybody might hate this, you know? It might be the biggest dud, the biggest flop in history of music. Okay, that's fine. I've been preparing for that for each and every album up until now, including The Dirt I'm Buried In, you know? We were kind of like this, we're gonna make a huge single out of this. Yeah, and everybody might hate it. And they didn't, but I have to be okay with that, you know? It's like a samurai should meditate over death on a daily basis, you know, about being torn apart and torn to shreds. And a musician, a songwriter, should meditate over imagining the sound boo, boo on a daily basis. Make peace with it and make sure you make your music for the right reasons. So, yeah, no pressure is the short answer.
No, I love it. I love it, man. Well, we are incredibly excited that you guys are coming back to town. We cannot wait for the full album. You're not going to find two bigger Avatar fans than myself and Jay. And once again, thank you for carving out some time. Thank you for stopping
My
to Boise
pleasure.
on your way around. And
we
we will see you soon, sir. Thank you very much.
And thank you for having our back through the years. Thank you.